to come here. And yes, it has been a great pleasure to host my Canadian and Danish colleagues here in Greenland these past days. Yesterday we had the historical opening of the Canadian consulate here in Nuuk. This provides an important connection between our countries and peoples. The consulate would serve as an essential bridge for future collaboration as we work to secure peace and sustainability in our shared Arctic region. Greenland is facing difficult times, and I want to thank Canada for being a steadfast friend and supporter of our country. It is deeply appreciated. It brings comfort and reassurance for the Greenlandic people to have a close ally and neighbor, reaching out with support and presence. Greenland expects to mirror your opening with diplomatic presence here in the years to come. Having the Canadian flag, the maple leaf, waving from your consulate in the center of our capital is an important symbol of the ties between our countries that we continue to build on. We will collaborate in bringing our people closer together by cultural, educational and economic connections. And we will collaborate in NATO to ensure security and defense in our Arctic region. We will do this together with close Arctic allies. The opening of the consulate serves as a timely and necessary step toward this. Thank you to the Canadian Coast Guard. It has been a pleasure to visit a strong Canadian capacity here in Nuuk. So, then I will give the floor to Minister for Foreign Affairs from Canada, my friend, Anita Anand.
Tak. Thank you, Vivian. So great to be here with all of you. And before I give my remarks, I just want to thank the Canadian Coast Guard for bringing the Jean Goodwill from Canada to Nuuk, Greenland, for this port visit. Je ne sais pas si vous savez et vous avez déjà entendu le nom Jean Goodwill. Elle était autochtone, elle était infirmière, elle vient de Saskatchewan et elle a fait beaucoup de travail pour notre pays et aussi pour les liaisons entre les peuples autochtones. I also want to, of course, thank Minister Motzfeldt, Minister Lars, Løkke, Rasmussen for their collaboration and work over the past 2.5 days. I began this trip in Copenhagen, and in Copenhagen, nous avons discuté les enjeux importants pour notre pays, les enjeux multilatéraux et bilatéraux aussi. For example, we focused on the fact that Denmark and Canada are celebrating 80 years of diplomatic relations. We focused on the work that we're going to do, G2G, B2B, and of course, people to people. I thank also Minister Motzfeldt. Upon my arrival and since that time in Nuuk, you have been nothing but a friend and a colleague and a support for the Canadian diplomatic presence here in Nuuk. Je voudrais mentionner aussi que nous avons une politique d'Arctique. Et ça, c'est le cas depuis 2024. En 2024, nous avons décidé d'ouvrir un consulat ici, à Nuuk. Et nous avons décidé les enjeux comme ça, les décisions comme ça, avec les consultations avec aussi les peuples autochtones. So our work here from a diplomatic standpoint is going to serve many Canadians, many people of Greenlandic and Danish descent, and we look forward to people-to-people ties, especially amongst Northerners and Inuit. We just actually met with a group of businesses in terms of their contributions to port infrastructure, airport infrastructure, and air transportation to further the links between Canada, Greenland, and Denmark. We also will continue to focus on the economic ties between our countries, as well as Arctic security and defense, and we will always choose collaboration and cooperation in doing so. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita, and thank you, Vivian. It gives me a great pleasure to be back in Nuuk, in such a beautiful setting with the sun and the snow, and the weather is much better than the one I left in Copenhagen. It's really nice to be here for meetings with Anita and Vivian. We talk a lot, also by phone, but it's always, better to meet face to face. So I really have appreciated this day, even though I was delayed and couldn't witness the official opening of the consulate. But I decided to go anyway, and I had an excellent evening in Nuuk yesterday, where I met a lot of youngsters in the street and really feel what a huge impact this ongoing discussion for the last year have had on the Greenlandic population, and how much it is appreciated that we have had good friends in these times. And among those good friends are, of course, Canada, with whom we have had, as Anita said, diplomatic relations for 80 years. So this is a long-lasting relationship, but nevertheless, I feel that this is a kind of new beginning with the consulate in Nuuk, which is a great opportunity for enhancing already existing cooperation. We look eye to eye on so many issues, not only about sovereignty and the Greenlandic people's right to self-determination, but also broadly when we work together in UN and NATO and other settings, that we need to stand up for a world order where might isn't right. And as the Prime Minister of Canada stated very clearly in Davos, the middle powers have to come together and work together. And I think that's what we have done here today and yesterday as well. So I'm just pleased and happy to be here. And I really think that this new consulate in Nuuk, together with other countries also opening diplomatic representations in Nuuk, yesterday also France, brings a lot of new opportunities for Greenland to embrace the world and take full advantage of the fact that people across the world now are focusing on what's going on in Greenland. And as Churchill rightly said, you should never waste a good crisis. And the positive thing about all this is that it also underpins all the possibilities linked to a new development in Greenland. Thank you.
Abigail Beeman, CTV News. Thank you for taking our questions. To Ministers Motzfeldt and Rasmussen, I'm wondering if you can update on the latest of your talks with the United States and if you feel there's still a threat of any kind of invasion. And I'm also wondering if you are interested in Canada sending any kind of military help. And to Minister Anand, I'm wondering if you can update us on the case of Robert Schellenberg in China and whether the shift in tone in Canada's relationship with China had any role to play in the reported overturning of his death sentence.
You want to go first?
Thank you for the question. First of all, I will say that our situation is much better than we were just for a month ago. And now we have put this diplomatic track, and now we're in a direct dialogue. That is something that we have been wished to be in several months, if you look back. And today's where we stand today, and the meeting that is already started on this high-level working group is already started, and it's a good thing. And talks in this room is respected talks, but we are not there where we want to be yet. There is going to be a long track. So where we're going to land at the end, it's too early to say.
I can just echo what Vivian Motzfeldt just said. It's actually less than 4 weeks since we had the meeting in Washington, even though it appears to be, months. And I think both of us left that meeting slightly optimistic, because what we agreed was that we should have this discussion trilaterally between Denmark, Greenland, and US to explore how we can accommodate reasonable US concerns about security in the Arctic, which we share, in a way that they respect fully our red lines, which is of course our sovereignty and the territorial integrity and the Greenlandic people's right to self-determination. And then the whole thing escalated, and now we are back on track. And as Vivian just said, the very first meeting have taken place. New meetings are scheduled. And I think we serve our best interest if we leave that discussion with these people who are dedicated to solve the problem in the diplomatic track. And then I think it's also important to recognize that beside of that, there's the whole agenda about the security situation in the Arctic, more generally speaking, not only linked to Greenland. And that is for NATO to solve. And in that regard, of course, we need Canadian support. And we already have Canadian support. Canadian, Denmark, and the other Arctic coast states have been arguing for years that NATO should pay more attention to the new situation in the Arctic. We all really hope that Arctic could be a low-tension region after the fall of the Berlin Wall. Things have slightly changed, and we have to accommodate that. And that is a task for NATO. And I know that there's an upcoming meeting among our defense ministers in the Arctic. It's much easier now when Sweden and Finland also have joined the NATO alliance, and this should be solved in that track. For that we need, and we already have, Canadian support.
On the third question posed, let me say the following. As a Minister of Foreign Affairs, I try to provide as much transparency as possible so that members of the Canadian public can understand the approach that we are taking internationally. On consular cases, of which Mr. Schellenberg's case is one, I ask my department every time I am meeting with my international counterparts to provide me with information about the specific consular cases that we need to address with the government of the country that I am speaking with. And such is the case with Robert Schellenberg's case, and I have raised this case several times with our Chinese counterparts. In terms of decisions that they are making internally, I do not have visibility on the reasons that they undertake particular decisions. And similarly, they would not have visibility as to government decisions that we are making as a matter of domestic law. I can say that I am pleased with this development, and I look forward to continuing to advocate for Canadian consular cases around the world.
A question to our Minister, Vivian Motzfeldt. In this crisis situation, what does it mean for Greenland that a Canadian consulate has been opened in Greenland, and what kind of advantage are you going to take? And a question to Minister Anand. which specific and concrete measures as tasks and things you will do here between the collaboration with Greenland and Canada?
Thank you for the question. First of all, I would say that working towards to more closer cooperation has been something that we have been working for also before all the crisis. So opening the consulate yesterday, it's not only to current situation, also that, but because we are very close neighbors and we have same history, shared history, and our ancestors and our fellow Inuit also live in Canada. So on that, I think that at the same time that strengthen our cooperation and our wanting to strengthen our trade in any kind and collaboration in education and security matter and all these, in fact, how important it is for us to have this feeling that you're not alone. You are standing here with your friends. And opening at Canadian consulate yesterday shows our ties even get more tight, and now we can make our wish to strengthen our cooperation even easier to work on, because we have a piece of Canada here and us wanting to open our representation also in Canada in the near future.
I really like the way you phrased that, Minister Motzfeldt, a piece of Canada here in Nuuk, in Greenland, because that's how we feel also, this diplomatic, formalized presence here with the formal opening of the consulate is an example not only of our physical presence, but the spirit within which we came and will stay, which is one of cooperation and collaboration. In terms of tangible measures, we are